Hello, everybody. This is Sean Foley and Ian Thomas. We're kicking off a series of 5 short videos to discuss the 5 dysfunctions of a team. And if you flip those dysfunctions on their head, it's the 5 behaviours of a cohesive team we're looking to. And we're exploring how emotional intelligence supports those 5 behaviours. The 5 behaviours are a foundation of vulnerable trust, the ability to have productive conflict. Once you've had that productive conflict, the ability to commit to the decisions you make through that constructive conflict. Then the ability to hold each other accountable as a team to deliver to the decisions you make. And finally, attention to results. And we're going to have a quick 10-minute chat about each of these, and we'll kick off with vulnerable trust. Is that okay with you, Sean?
That sounds great. Let's go. So what is vulnerable trust?
Well, vulnerable trust is actually very important. It's the ability to be unguarded, to be yourself in a team, and knowing that everybody else is going to be supportive around you. In my experience, when I've worked in many teams, it's not like that. You are afraid of admitting mistakes. You're afraid of asking for help because it's seen as weakness, and you know it's going to be used against you. Now, when you're operating in that environment, it's very, very hard to be yourself and with your team members get the best out of your combined abilities.
Yeah, but you're working in a fear-based culture almost immediately.
Absolutely.
If there's no trust, how you know, if there's no trust, how will you trust that you'll be safe? And
yes.
and from the emotional intelligence side of things, one of the things that highly emotionally intelligent leaders are able to do in their organizations is answer 3 subconscious questions that all of us ask in every interaction. And that is, am I safe? Do I belong? And do I matter? Yeah. And the way you answer that, I mean, trust underpins this, is, am I safe? And that doesn't mean physically safe, because usually you are physically safe, particularly in light of health and safety in our organizations. But are you emotionally safe and psychologically safe? As per the Aristotle project from
Google's findings,
Yes, psychological safety, absolutely paramount. So am I safe? Do I belong? Is this my tribe? Are our values aligned? Do we think and feel similarly? Do we have aligned vision for the organization? So is this my tribe? And the third one is, do I matter? I matter because you ask my opinion, you ask my expert opinion, you give me responsibility within the organization, challenge me, you mentor me, you help me. There's all of those things. And one of the other things is you trust me. So I must matter. And if we've got safe, belong, and matter answered by high EQ leaders, that helps to build that trust in the organization for individuals to step up, have a go, knowing that if they fail, they're not going to get kicked out, know that they will be given opportunity to upgrade themselves, whether that be technically or through personal development. So there's a whole load really underpins it. And trust, I think, is absolutely paramount. Hence, it will be #1 in the behaviours of high performance.
I think that's spot on, Sean. And I mean, one of the real challenges for leaders, particularly emerging leaders, and I work with emerging leaders who are new into position as a leader and want to make a sort of a quick, not quick, a proper impact on the new role that they're into. One of the things that if they really want to get that vulnerable trust so that the team really feels comfortable and starts to work together really well, they have to go first. They have to lead and show the vulnerability. And you know, for an emerging leader, that's difficult to do, but that's the sort of thing that they need support on.
It's interesting, as you say, that leaders go first. They really should step up. You know, in high performance teams, the leader never asks their team to do anything that they're not capable of doing themselves. In business, it's slightly different because you're bringing certain expertise in, but there must be a willingness, for instance, to create that vulnerable trust where the leader steps up and shares and explains first the way that it's going to happen, and then takes the plunge themselves.
Yeah.
What that does to everybody else is it's okay to step up and have a go. And if the leader is willing to do that, and it's the same whenever we do team building or leadership training and development, the key criteria here is that everybody's involved and the leader must take the lead. Now, when I say that to them, they go, well, no, I just want to sit back and let the others take lead. And I go, yes, absolutely. But you must be present. You must be on board. You must be supportive. And if there are personality profiles, if there's psychometric evaluation, have the courage to step up and go first. So others will take support and succor from that and really step up themselves.
Of course, what generally happens with a new leader is that they tend to focus on the smart stuff, the strategy, the technical aspects of strategy. Have we got the marketing in place? Have we got the operations in place? And all of those are good and necessary. But if you haven't got the team tuned up and on board to deliver that, you're going to really struggle.
Well, you've suddenly hit into a key aspect of the vulnerable trust. And when a leader's new in post, particularly, and actually it happens the longer they're in post, I've found, is they're less willing to expose themselves. It's almost like they've built this wonderful thing, whatever it is, and now they want to protect it. So they end up getting ensconced in old ways of thinking. And what I try to do all the time is help them to open that and show others, again, demonstrate to others that if they've been in role a long time, they're actually able to see the benefits of these changes and embrace them. If they've not been in role very long, they're in fear of messing it up. And it's then drawing them forward and saying, guys, it's a culture where you're allowed to fail, because nobody's dying here, generally speaking. You step up, step forward and have a go.
It's a move forward from the old way of thinking, which is I'm the boss, therefore you do what I say, which is not a very effective way of operating these days.
No, and it doesn't engender trust anyway.
No, it doesn't engender trust, and by and large, it doesn't work very well. But if you can shift to what some people have termed servant leadership, so you as the boss, you demonstrate the way you want the team to behave, and then you start to support them in behaving that way. That's really what gets great results.
And that servant leadership, as you put it, is different from being a manager. But
absolutely.
This is a bit where I see that there's not enough training and development going into somebody who's being promoted into space, or not into space, being promoted into place, and they're then not given the support, the training, the development to be able to lead. And so they default to managing. And when they default to managing, they're not servant leading. They're directing and they're tweaking things. So servant leadership absolutely is a gift to your team so that they will grow. We've got 1 minute left.
Okay, so shall I just summarize?
I think so.
So we've been talking about the 5 behaviors of a cohesive team based on the 5 dysfunctions. The first of those, which we've been talking about, is trust. And we've talked about vulnerable trust, and that's the foundation that you need to build before you move on to productive conflict, commitment, accountability, and delivery of really great results.
Which is what we're going to be looking at in the next 4 videos.
Exactly.
Fantastic. Well, appreciate your time today.
You're welcome, Sean. Thank you for yours.
Hope this has been useful to those watching. You've learned something and you're able to embrace this, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the next videos.
Cheers.